Sawadee krap. And welcome to the new rules of soft power. This is the first of a series of global soft power talks in association with THACCA, the Thailand Creative Culture Agency, and Melco Resorts and Entertainment. I'm Matthew Marsh. I'll be your host today. As I'm sure you're all aware, THACCA are tasked with aligning and unlocking the full potential of Thailand's creative industries. The government's aim is to leverage creativity as a driver of economic growth, cultivating a sustainable and substantial economic ecosystem, and making Thailand a centre for innovation, creativity, and cultural excellence. To achieve this takes partnership, and the Global Soft Power Talks are brought to you by a company familiar with creative excellence, Melco Resorts and Entertainment. Rather than me list out what they're famous for, let me show you the kind of experiences you can expect at any one of their 6 resorts. Soft power, as you know, is the ability to affect others by attraction and persuasion rather than coercion and payment. We all practice it to greater or lesser extents and with varying degrees of success. Countries spend millions of dollars on promoting culture, billions of dollars on hosting the Olympics, and goodness knows how much on reaching distant planets. And I spend a few hundred with my tailor. And we all have, and we have here today, a well-dressed lineup of talent gracing our stage. I've spent some time with them over the last day or two, and I have to say they're an impressive group of individuals and good fun. They might be the best in the world at what they do, but they're very humble about it. I'm very fortunate. I get to work alongside some remarkably talented people. For the last 10 years, I've been hosting the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity. It's the Oscars for the advertising industry. And there I get to see and meet the best in creative communications. Then for the rest of my year, I'm immersed in the world of Formula One, where almost every person you meet is driven or driving, and driving was how I got into this world. I was not the most talented behind the wheel, but my exposure, being a Formula One commentator, opened doors to brands, and a few of the brave ones supported me to go racing. And I competed on some of the world's most iconic tracks: Daytona, Le Mans, Macau, Singapore, and Monaco. And I turned signing sponsorship deals into a business because brands are desperate to leverage the soft power of Formula One. Of my 35 years in Formula One, it's the last 5 that have been the most dramatic. An American company, Liberty Media, bought it in 2017 and transformed it from an international motor racing series to a global entertainment platform. Today, 1/3 of F1's fans are new. They only started following the sport in the last 5 years. And importantly to sponsors, they're now younger and more likely to be female, 40% of them, up from 25. Plus, they're in that 16 to 35 age bracket that brands love. This hugely increases F1's value, and it's a tool for countries to wield soft power. A pivotal moment was Liberty's backing of Drive to Survive. The docuseries on Netflix took viewers behind the scenes, focusing less on racing and cars, the humans of the story, the drivers, the 20 attractive athletes, whether in the traditional sense or attractive because they're physically fit and motivated, or with a backdrop of flying in private jets and staying in 5-star hotels in 24 destinations around the world. In 2023, Las Vegas spent $500 million equipping the city to host its first race in decades. But the economic impact of that first race has been measured at $1.5 billion. And Formula One doesn't just showcase the race, it showcases the city. One statistic which I find fascinating is that American F1 fans are 2 times more likely to consider a trip to Saudi Arabia than other Americans. Singapore, where I live, aside from attracting hundreds of thousands of F1 visitors, uses the event as a chance to invite some of the world's most powerful political and business leaders for high-level networking in a neutral environment. It's all about image, all about soft power. And going back to Vegas for a second, and with our first guest in mind, it's now a piece of ultra-high-tech architecture, which is the iconic image of the Vegas Grand Prix, the sphere, architecture as identity. And creating iconic landmarks is exactly what our first guest does. She and her colleagues challenge convention with a visual signature which is constantly evolving, pushing what's possible and encouraging clients to be bold and ambitious. I'm a big fan of their work, and I'm excited to hear how they achieve originality every time.
Guided by the pioneering vision of its founder, Zaha Hadid Associates have for 40 years now created groundbreaking, sustainable, future-proof buildings all around the world. Their unique aesthetic, always developing and evolving, reflects an appetite for calculated risk, which pushes clients, technology and architecture itself, to build bold and iconic structures which are optimistic and transformative. Architect Viviana Mushatola has led a number of signature projects for ZHA in Asia, including one described by Time magazine as one of the world's greatest places, Morpheus Hotel in Macau. Viviana and her colleagues design buildings which challenge convention, make communities proud, and always with the goal of lasting well beyond their intended lifespan.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from London, Viviana Mushatola.
Good afternoon, everyone. I wonder, how much do you know about me? If the caption behind me had to disappear, aside from being a woman and from my accent, Italian, certainly European, what would you remember about me from the brochure, from what you just saw? Yes, I am an architect. Now, there is no clear number of how many practicing architects there are in the world, an estimated 3 to 5 million. But there is one name that is connected with my profession, and this is Zaha Hadid, the queen of curves. Zaha, who passed away in 2016, was an extraordinary talent. The first building that she built was only when she was 44 years old. And 11 years after, she won the Pritzker Architecture Prize, the Oscar of my word. Zaha had a passion for abstraction, fragmentation, movement. They really blur the boundaries between art, architecture, and design. She had a belief in innovation. Even though all of the industry around her thought that her building could not be built. Zaha had a level of self-confidence that was unusual for an architect, but let's say it, talent alone is not what makes her name on the lips of people that have only a passing interest in architecture. This is identity. This might be obvious, but again, thinking about the 1,000,000 of our practicing architects, how come very few can make a household out of their name? And same goes for city, countries, of the thousands of places that right now come to your mind. How many would you be able to say that have a strong identity, so strong that you can describe them? For every Paris, Acapulco, Kyoto, Marrakesh, there are many other places. Maybe they have beauty, they are cute, but they don't have a strong identity. And Zaha really steamed with her ferocious vision. The building she designed, the award that she won, the achievement that she dared to get were very important to create a special identity for her work so that you can describe it. Today, this lives within our practice. THACCA DNA, and I've been working there for 21 years now, is what makes our soft power. So how come only few names stand out? Look, even though identity sometimes could be a happy accident, it takes a lot of strong work. And you have to persevere with your ideas and your thoughts. And this is what I learned at Zaha Hadid Architects over the year. Identity, whether it's a person or a country, it needs to be curated, must be nourished and protected. Remember those three words. They're going to come back in my presentation. And what is important is that identity is an active endeavor, not a passive one. It is a loudspeaker. You get it right, and it's going to scream. We live in a world where social media has been democratized, meaning that every country or politician or brand, they don't have anymore the full control of what their identity is looking like. So even more, we need to create a collective identity, we need a lot of planning and vision. The old rules are gone. The new rules are in place. And architecture plays an enormous role within this. It creates a framework for what people want you to see about your country. And it can scream the message out loud. They all use the architecture were very much to project power and wealth. And within this, I'm going to start with one of the obvious examples, the Pyramid of Giza. Built 4,500 years ago. 2 million of 25 tons of limestone block built at the precision that needed to represent what the pharaoh was above everyone else. And we can say the same about Forbidden City. The symmetrical political power base, this was the way the Chinese emperor commanded over everyone. And it doesn't only belong to kings, emperor, and pharaoh. Even the church used the same way to project his immense wealth. And if we go now to think about what Louis XIV did with Versailles Palace, again, another symbol of control through architecture of everyone else below him. More recently, the power of architecture to attract have been incredibly important, coining the form of word architectonism. The Torre Eiffel. So it was built in 1989, and it was supposed to be there for only 25 years. It's a piece of incredible architecture for its height and its construction techniques. It became so much the identity of a city and of a country that here it stands, attracting visitors from all over the world. Similar, when they planned the Sydney Opera House, the idea was to create a state-of-art place for the arts and the performances. And now millions of people are coming to this location, creating a really strong economical value for the city itself. And that's even a greater example. Guggenheim Bilbao. Bilbao is a tiny little city, industrial at the time, north of Europe. When this building was built, a new term was coined, that is the Bilbao effect. You know, this building alone changed completely a city in itself. And this applies also when you look at a location from the plane. Dubai built two incredibly shaped islands. And every beachfront coastline is actually designed with this idea of being so strong and powerful of a mainland made. Dubai is actually very much curating its identity through architecture. It started with this building, the Burj Arab, 1999. And it continued. This is our office building, the Opus Tower. And he went to the extreme, the tallest building in Dubai and in the world, 825 meters, 160 stories. And it's attracting an astonishing number of 17 million visitors per year. So those are very potent symbols of soft power. And these are icons, they needed a lot of curation, Now, around the world, from Asia to Africa, we are building new cities. Egypt is building its new capital. We have Dolera Smart City in India. We have Jakarta building a new capital. And a lot of them are looking at special conditions, whether in the Saudi we know, where we have our building, or with Delhi. Now, those are city identities that are free for grab. And the government must be very smart in how they plan their identity. I want to talk about a very good example, Singapore. Now, the city started when essentially started from a prime minister that started with Lee Kuan Yew. And he had a big problem. Huge unemployment, the economy was really down. And he understood one thing, that to be able to attract investment within the city and make it flourish, he had to create a very strong infrastructure, schooling, and housing. So first of all, he took care of his own population. Now, Singapore that we know is due to a really incredible policy, the Garden City policy put in place in 1967. This policy is actually saying that whenever you have a plot of land that you as a developer want to bring up to sky, you have to replace one-to-one the greenery. It means in numbers that soon Singapore will have 200 hectares of greenery in the sky. So you see, the legislation had played a huge role in the identity and the image of Singapore as we see it now. And by contrast, we have another interesting case, London, where I live. So the city of London, where all of the actual skyscrapers are located nowadays, is actually starting from a plan that was medieval. Very narrow roads, very small plots. The only way London had as a way of attracting, again, the best office and become the capital of finance that it is right now, was to go high. But the city has its own monuments to protect. And those monuments, mapped in what you see right now at the back, needed to be protection from far away. And here it comes. You want to build high in the city of London. There are views that stretch across the city of London to Greenwich. They are protecting the St. Paul Cathedral. And this allowed, though, this incredible development. You see, the city did not have much tall buildings before. This is a very good example of how protection, but allowing development, can actually create the incredible skyline that the city has right now. This thing about attracting is a bit of a double sword, and people and countries need to be careful about it. On my back, Bali. The over-tourism was not planned. Therefore, the infrastructure are crashing. And this doesn't apply only to Bali. I can talk about Santorini, a fisherman village. Santorini has now so many visitors that it's impossible to move around. And we have even crazier example of this, where Iceland, the land of no one, beautiful landscape, and yet Justin Bieber created a song, and the video is set in a beautiful location, to the point that there are so many people that want to go there, the environment was collapsing. So they had to close it. One song. And I can go on and on. We can talk about Kyoto, no? You're close to home. When I think about what can be done to create an identity of a place, one example that comes to my mind is what the Rothschild banking family created in Megève. So Megève, at the time they arrived, was a little village with few houses. They bought one. They started a small hotel. And then comes the restaurant. And it started to be such an attraction for the friends of the family that slowly this beautiful location was transformed, but was transformed with in mind a coherent architecture to the location. So again, the curating, nourishment, and protection of the site, it was made what made this specific location a special one to be. Now, there are a lot of new crises for us. And I can start with geopolitical. I can go on with climate change or even AI. The economics are always in flux. So in order for a country, as well as one individual, to create a strong identity, the new rules are in game. And we have to protect, curate, and nourish our new places. Thank you very much.
Viviana Muscatello, everybody, big round of applause. Viviana, join me here. Let's have a short chat. I want to dig into a few of these points that you've made, in particular about curating and nourishing, developing, not cities, but talent, because one of the most exciting things I think about these global soft power talks is the THACCA Melco Academy, where, we'll be talking about this in more detail later, some lucky young Thais are going to be available for an internship. And one lucky young Thai architect will be joining ZHA
Looking forward.
for 3 months. What can that person, other than the British weather in London, what can that person expect to learn?
So we have run some internship in the past, and I have to say, first of all, we are a very welcoming practice. We speak 45 languages, we are from 55 nationality, very international crowd. I think one of the things that I will be very happy if our intern will bring back to Thailand is this strong belief that if you have creativity and you put a lot of passion into it, then look, everything is possible. The innovation has no limits when you really put your mind into it.
So it's going to be a welcoming environment.
For sure.
What can you gain from that student? Is there anything a company like ZHA can gain from a new person?
First of all, I think that when you look at the composition of our office and how many people from all over the world we host within our industry, we are true believers of collaborations. Every project in our office starts with some sort of internal competition where everyone is get to have a go at ideas. And of course, there is some sort of an orchestra, no? You start to analyze the site, the environmental condition, the cultural background, and whatever is the vision from the client. But then when the competition starts, if there is even someone very junior that has a good idea, we will be curating it, nourishing, to the point that it becomes potentially the winning one internally. So we do a lot of... Well,
tell us about that. We've only got a minute left, but tell us a little bit. There's competition internally at the associates?
It is in the idea is to always push us to not repeat ourselves, always find a new solution to all problems. So this is part of the innovative process of design that we're really proud of keeping alive in the office.
Fantastic. Well, it's going to be very exciting for that young architecture student from Thailand. It's been very exciting to have with us today. Big round of applause, please. Viviana Mushatola.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll let you go. Thank you very much, Viviana. Now, our next guest to share their new rules of soft power is a familiar face to television viewers in Europe. They know him as the judge of France's Got Talent and one of Italy's biggest entertainment shows, Amici, where for 7 years he was the artistic director. Alongside this career, he recently founded the Peparini Academy in Rome, where students train in dance, music, theatre and circus, but I'm guessing he'll tell us more about that. A maestro of the spectacular, just have a look at what this gentleman has created over the years.
Shows and captivating audiences around the world, from ballet to opera, musicals to spectaculars, fashion to pop music. Giuliano's artistic vision is not limited by discipline, language, or culture. A familiar face on European television, he directs and develops talent, understands contemporary audiences, and is a master of storytelling, both ancient and new. Now, new generations of performers are being trained and inspired at his Peparini Academy in Rome, guided by a community of more than 50 industry experts, creating a legacy of talent which will entertain the world for years to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Rome, Giuliano Peparini.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my office, the stage. For more than 40 years, this has been my home. Creativity and culture are my world. I am a kid that grew up in a sort of a jungle. But don't get me wrong, not a jungle as you have here in Thailand with beautiful nature, trees, monkeys, snakes. My jungle was a little part of Rome in Italy. A country at that period in the 70s where people were struggling. A country full of tension at that period, but with a very strong sense of culture and glamour. My parents, like many other parents, were coming from a very simple family, not having much, trying to build something for my sister and me, trying to make us grow, to educate us. And I've been very lucky in my life because they allowed me to dream. So, at 8 years old, I was already at the bar, doing ballet class. And at 14 years old, I started to study theater. And I was already performing. Actually, I was the younger performer in Italy at that period. And I had to deal, of course, with people double my age. And I had to listen to them. I've been lucky because I met a lot of masters during my road that taught me where I could look, where I could go. And the most important thing was to look where they were looking, to listen to them. And a lot of people today forget to do this, especially young people. Look, I give you some example. If you go on the street and you ask for some direction to somebody that knows exactly where do you want to go, they will tell you in the details the street. But maybe what just you will remember will be turn left or turn right, nothing else. Young people today struggle with listening. They have access to so much. More than ever, they think they know everything. So we must help them. We must tell them where to go. We must educate them. So that's why I was extremely grateful and happy to be part of the THACCA Melco Academy, to pass on what I've learned. And one of the things that I've learned in the past was adaptability, flexibility. So, by 15 years old, I already started to study Russian, French, and Italian writers. And by 17, the School of American Ballet in New York offered me a scholarship. So from Italy, I moved to New York. When I finished the school, I had the opportunity to join the company, the New York City Ballet. But I didn't want to do just that, just dancing, you know? I have been studying a lot of years theater. I got other plans for my life. So I came back to Europe. And by 19 years old, the National Ballet of Marseille offered me a contract as a soloist. So I moved to France. And I became, at 24 years old, what we call in France a danseur étoile, which is a sort of, I would say, a principal dancer, a guest star. And I started to dance everywhere in the world, working alongside with one of the biggest masters of choreography, Monsieur Roland Petit. Monsieur Roland Petit was not just a choreographer. He was a real director. He had a vision. He was an open-minded man. By the 60s or the 70s, he would go to Hollywood and make a movie. Then go to France and create a ballet for the Paris Opera House. And at the same time, create a revue show for the Casino de Paris with Yves Saint Laurent. I was amazed by that. That's what I wanted to do. What I wanted to be. That was for me the new rules. He encouraged me a lot to look past the obvious, to look beyond the classical. So little by little, I started to develop my own way to create. So I was going to St. Petersburg and create a ballet for the Kirov. Then going to Las Vegas and create a water show. Then lead me to co-create the House of Dancing Water in Macau, in City of Dreams, with Melco. And then going back to France, creating some award-winning musicals. And then I found television. Actually, television found me. I was one of the judges of a French TV show, popular TV show called France Got Talent. Actually, I had a lot of fun doing it. It was very funny. Not judging, more like the rest. And at the same time, I was the artistic director of a very popular TV show in Italy for 9 years called Amici. Amici is the perfect combination of 3 different concepts of television: a talent show, a game show, and a reality show. It launches a lot of young performers' careers. And actually, it made me become a celebrity in Italy. But most of it, it gave me access to the young generation. The young people that is stuck on their telephone. The young people that struggle with listening. So, could I get them inside a theater? Could I make them watch a classical and enjoy watching it? In 2023, I gave it a shot. I tried. In the Isle of Sicily, there is the most beautiful Greek theater in the world, in the city of Syracuse. It's a 2,000 years old theater. It's a 9,000 seat, a wonderful space of performance. And actually, I had a 2,000 years old story that I wanted to tell. The story of Ulysses. Ulysses is a poem written by Homero. It's a 24 books or chapters telling the story of a 10 years journey of a man to Ithaca, his home, after the war of Troy. Full of elaborate symbolism, complex, obscure languages. It's typical of that period. So what did I do? I twisted. I adapted. I took the essence of the story. I got inspired by the story, and I brought Ulysses in the present, inside an airport. A sort of modern present purgatory, with people arriving, people leaving, people in delay, most of the time, people stress also. And what happened? Every single evening, summer, 9,000 young people holding their breath, clapping their hands, and falling in love with the 2,000 years old story. We gave the opportunity to young people to fall in love with the Greek theater and the Greek tragedy, and they swallowed it. They loved it. And actually, we packed the house. So, now, how soft power is connected to this? What soft power need to work across the continent? He needs to be relatable. He needs to be appealing. How can we represent a nation that is complex? Because of the complexity of the history. Because it's different. Because of the different culture. And because it's moving every day forward. So we cannot tell the whole story. It's impossible. So, how do we decide what we keep and what we leave out of the story that we want to tell? Who do we trust? We trust the creative people. The people that know naturally what audience is looking for, what audience like, what audience think. So, understanding the audience is the key. In 1990, the South Korean government recognized the potential of culture and entertainment in promoting their soft power, helping young creators to compete in the international market, supporting them, training and developing music, cinema, television, fashion, beauty, twisting and adapting Korean for a global audience. In 2012, one song, one video, one attitude, one dance became the first song and video ever watched on YouTube. In one night, more than 1 billion views. Actually, today we are almost at 5.4 billion views. It's about the 70% of the world population. Can you believe it? And this song was Gangnam Style from hip-hop singer and rapper Psy. Did 22 singles of 6 albums, sang in Korean. It's a satirical commentary, making fun at people, projecting the lifestyle that they cannot afford. He was a turning point for the country, turning into a cultural powerhouse. Key pop, key cinema, key movie, key fashion, key beauty, broadcast country's creativity, and give it the best seat at the top table, where all eyes focus on what can be a single aspect of a nation's identity. It's simply a cliché. Let me give you some example. Germany, cliché. Beer, precision, cars. Wait, it's easier. Brazil, soccer, carnival, samba. Let's go to France. Baguette, of course. Moulin Rouge. Egypt, camels, pyramid. And it's easy to look at the cliché. Look at James Bond. James Bond. Isn't he the most popular gentleman in Britain? In America, the Simpson. Simpson. Isn't it the typical American family? No. They are just cliché. And as I said, it's easy to look at the cliché. Why? Because they are predictable, unoriginal, oversimplified, and overused. And why all this? Because they are familiar. Because they tell stories. Actually, in popular culture, the clichés are extremely powerful. Take me as an example. I'm Italian. I know we have thousands of clichés. So let me go for some of them. I never drink cappuccino after 11 a.m. I eat pasta and pizza every day. Actually, this is quite true. Let me see. I shake my hands when I talk. And that's why I always get my hands in the pocket. I have hundreds of recipes of my grandmother, of my nonna. I do. I cook very well. I'm stylish. No, don't answer to that, please. I'm joking. I live in the Dolce Vita. Yes, this is my cliché. I am that cliché. Let's go to Asia. Let's take Japan, for instance. What about the manga? What about anime? Anime industry. It says to be worth $30 billion. And it's set to hit $63 billion in the next 10 years. And every single part of anime is telling about Japan, is telling about Japan's culture, broadcasting Japan's soft power to every corner of the globe. Think of Japanese food. Sushi, ramen, matcha. Those are universal. Everybody knows them. But what about when we step into Japan and we discover how many sub-cuisines are there? 100, 1,000 of that. But sushi gained traction. Why? Because it looks healthy, because it looks fresh, because it's colorful, it's beautiful, because it's loved by celebrities. And most of it because it's adaptable. So there was a room for interpretation, a flexibility which encouraged experimentation between the original and its new setting. And it's the same for entertainment. We are not just producers. We are custodians of history and culture. We can bring the past alive by telling stories. This is beautiful. But who can do that? The best people to do that, to twist the narrative and build bridges between yesterday and tomorrow, are your creative and your creators because they live by the new rules, because they create the future. Your creator understands that you cannot tell the whole story. And try if you want, but you will fail. Let them twist. Let them adapt, and you will reap the reward. They are living by the new rules. They create the future, and they are our future. Thank you so much.
Giuliano Paparini.
Thank you, Matthew.
Fantastic. Come and join me over here. Unfortunately, we've only got a few minutes. I've got so many questions I want to ask you. Let me start with one. It seems to me that this journey that you went on, you started on the mean streets of Rome. You made the decision to go overseas, to France and onwards. Was that what contributed to you becoming the maestro you are today?
But I think that we learn a lot by the experience, by our life. You know, I always had the feeling when I have to see my life, I see a suitcase, but a suitcase full of experience, full of people that I met, full of a person that gave me so much, you know? And so I think that this is the most important message, you know? It's the trip that we go, it's the adventure that we go through, you know? Even if it's difficult, because leaving your country when you are 15 years old, you know, it's not easy, because the family, it's very important, you know, when you are a kid. But at the same time, you know, that makes you strong also.
You said that your parents gave you the ability to dream. How do we encourage young people to dream?
I think by following their interest, by understanding through their eyes, you know, what they like, what they want to do. I think understanding our younger generation, it's our duty today.
You've also said, I noticed this, you said you can't follow the cliches, it's too easy. Well, okay, thank you for that. Then you said trust the creatives to know what is the essence.
Yeah.
You've only been here a few days before these talks. Have you seen things that you think could be the essence of telling the Thailand story?
Absolutely. Thailand is full of history, full of culture. I think that in France we say it's a berceau. It's really the place where everything it's born, you know, and it's full of elements, you know, in the history that can become a beautiful story. And it's through the also story help other people, other country to know our country.
As we know, a young performing arts student will be going as part of the THACCA Melco Academy to work with you. You learned at the feet of Roland Petit. What was the most important lesson you learned from him?
Actually, I remember one day, at the beginning, I was seated close to him, and he was creating something. And he asked me, he said, "Where are you looking?" And I said, "I'm looking at the stage. Where should I look?" And he said, "No, you don't have to look at the stage." He said, "Look where I'm looking." And at the beginning, I took it as a, you know, like, why should I look where he's looking? But then I started to understand what he was saying. He was saying, before, just learn by what we have to say, you know, and then explore your vision. But I think it's important. The education, there is nothing more important. You know, education is life. Education makes us strong.
It does. Education makes us strong. Everybody, big round of applause, please. Giuliano Paparini.
Thank you so much.
Fabulous to have you with us. Fantastic. So, we're learning lots of lessons today. One of them, I think, there is to look where you're going, but perhaps look where the masters are going. And of course, you know, the big lesson, and one that's very important to us here today, is education. It's going to be critical in creating a pipeline of young talent into the creative industries. And so, as part of this global soft power talk series, 5 young Thais will be selected for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to spend 3 months working alongside the guest speakers we have joining us today. Fully supported by Melco, these kids will experience one-on-one training with some of the creative industry's finest talents, and in locations as diverse as the US, the UK, Italy, France, and Macau. Their horizons will be expanded, their learning will be supercharged, their ambitions will be sent skywards. Imagine a Thai architecture student getting the opportunity to intern within Zaha Hadid's London studio. a performing arts student shadowing Giuliano as he prepares his next show in Sicily. Or how about someone from brand or marketing joining our next guest as he revolutionizes the world of luxury? Because that's what's happening in his newly developed overlap between creativity and nature. Our next guest has established a way to add genuine value to grassroots farmers and their output. His vision, understanding of taste, and experience in luxury have come together in Flamingo Estate.
Growing up on his parents' farm, the avocado orchard was his playground and nature his inspiration. But a desire for otherworld adventures led him to America, where in his 20s, he founded the globally respected creative agency, Chandelier. However, 2 decades later, the creation of fantastical narratives for luxury brands lost its relevance when the pandemic struck.
2020 is now the deadliest year in U.S. history.
In an extraordinary pivot, the simple gesture of helping a farmer in distress led to Richard applying all he'd learned about fueling desire for luxury into a mission to reward and recognize those who work the earth. Flamingo Estate was born, and in 4 short years has networked together more than 120 farmers from around the world and built a global brand determined to bring culture into horticulture.
I love what you do.
He now believes Mother Nature is the last great luxury house. The boy from the farm has returned as a man and is inviting the world to share in the radical pleasure of nature.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Los Angeles, Richard Christensen.
Hello. Thank you for that welcome. I would like to welcome you to our home in Los Angeles. It's called Flamingo Estate. I live here with my partner Harvey and our dogs and our goats and our bees and our chickens. It's 5 years ago today that I met Harvey. Today's our anniversary. I didn't get a gift. I'm really in trouble. But I'm the luckiest guy in the world because I met Harvey, but also because we had the craziest adventure in 5 years that was completely unexpected. And it started because we were here harvesting in our orchard and pulling everything that we loved from our garden and really, honestly, just rejoicing in nature and the garden and all the things that we could make. We cook all the time. And this house, which I love with my full heart, has become much more than just the place that we live. It's become a brand, and it's become, I hope, an accidental meeting ground for hundreds and hundreds of collaborators and environmentalists and writers and farmers, and I hope a handmade catalyst for change. And then as you heard, when COVID hit, it absolutely crumbled. And anyone that started their own business, anyone that works hard in their job knows that their entire self-esteem is often attached to their job, which was mine. So I was devastated when that happened. But something remarkable, crazy also happened. The very first Friday of COVID, a farmer walked in to see us. We knew her because I had bought my citrus trees from her for the garden. And she walked in and she said, "Richard, I'm going to lose my farm because all of my vegetables go to restaurants." And you all remember the restaurants were closed during COVID. And so she was going to run out of money. And I remember I said my parents had lost their farm when I was a teenager. So I was like, absolutely not. We're not letting that happen. Bring your vegetables over and we're just going to sell them. We're going to sell boxes of vegetables. Harvey covered the box in this nice pattern to make it very Instagrammable. And honestly, I think she thought we could sell 12 boxes of vegetables. But that very, very first Friday, we sold 300. The next Friday, we sold 600. And then the next Friday, there was a line around the block to buy all of our vegetables. Yes, it's true, but it gets much better. Wait. The health department then shut us down. They said we shouldn't be selling vegetables in a residential location, which is fair enough. And so we thought, well, we can't have people come over to get the vegetables. We're gonna deliver them. So we called for drivers. Within a few months, we had 50 delivery trucks, and people really came out of hiding. You know, grandmas and moms and teachers and nurses and everyone. It was so unexpected. Came out to help us to drive vegetables. And Harvey's job and my job was to make Mother Nature look luxurious, even if we were shooting tomatoes to make them look really, really beautiful. And people started to notice. Our friends and people in Los Angeles started to Instagram their vegetables. We really created the Instagram vegetable. And we were very lucky that we live on the doorstep of Hollywood. So customers were, the Kardashians were customers, and Chrissy Teigen with her 34 million followers, and Ellen, you saw me on the Ellen show, she had me on the show, she was a customer, and Oprah talked about the vegetables. So we built this groundswell about our vegetables, and then, well, obviously people noticed, but the other people that noticed were the farmers. So one farm became 3 farms became 50 farms, and today we have 128 regenerative farms. And so, yeah, great people. Then everything takes like a total sideswipe. Everything gets changed around. I met this guy, Martin Brosius. He came to the estate and he said, I heard you're helping farmers. Can you sell my olive oil? And I said, oh my God, I'd love to sell it, but we already have enough olive oil. We've got 2 farms already. And he was walking out. I said, wait, maybe we can make soap. And that's how we sort of got into the beauty industry, which is now 85% of what we do. And just to explain sort of how that happened, this is my favorite place in the estate. This is our bathhouse. I take a bath twice a day. I love taking a bath. And the water from the bath runs into the garden. And my roses were dying because of all of the chemicals in my body wash from a very fancy brand that you all know. And I was like, well, if I can't put it on my plants, why would I put it on my skin? And so we started making our own a long time before we thought of selling it. But of course, that sort of set off this chain reaction where we decided why don't we take everything from those farmers, the vegetable farmers, and start making everything that we need for the whole day. The coffee in the morning when we wake up, the candles during the day, the shampoo and the conditioner, and the wine that we drink at night, and the chocolates we share with our friends. And what's really interesting is that nobody had ever really tried to scale a business this way. No one has sort of worked directly with farms, not with third parties, not with agriculture companies, not with middlemen, just we work directly with the people in the ground, pay them more for what they're getting, more than what they would get at the farmer's market, make something else from their products they didn't expect, like beauty products or bath products, and really try to scale that business, to wrap our arms around all of them. So I believe today, in a world drunk on innovation, where everyone's crazy about AI and everyone's on their phone all the time, we're in love with our telephones, we need to do the opposite. We need to return to things that are made by hand, like our grandmas used to make them, that are made with real ingredients, that taste really good, and are crafted by real people. That's obviously soft power. It's also hard revenue. Just to put my business cap on, our business has now doubled and doubled and doubled and doubled. We are in 600 stores in the United States and in Australia. We launch in Asia next year. And I know, hand on my heart, we are going to build a billion-dollar brand. And not because we're greedy, but because I really want to turn around to Estee Lauder and to L'Oreal and to P&G and show them that someone can build a business this way, can work with farmers this way, can craft products this way, and make things in a farm, not in a lab. And leave the world perhaps much better than we found it. So we believe that Mother Nature is the last great luxury house. That's what we always say. It's written on our bags. And what does this mean? For Harvey and I, it means we have to put the culture back into horticulture. As you saw in the video, to take everything we learned in our entire careers about beauty and luxury and put it onto the farm. I think if you want people to think about the environment a different way, you must show it to them a different way. So that meant we invited lots of creative people, and artists came, musicians came. We had Quincy Jones and Billie Eilish and Moses Sumney came. We did some amazing collaborations. This is Jane Goodall, the environmentalist. Many of you know her. She's an icon. We did a honey with her to raise money for her environmental programs. We did the same thing with LeBron James, I think the world's most famous athlete. I'm not such a sports guy. But we put our bees on the roof of his house and then let them make honey, and we took all of the honey from his house and we used those proceeds for charity. Did the same thing with Ed Ruscha, the iconic artist, with Ai Weiwei last year at his house. And then started working with our friends in Hollywood that were customers, Julianne Moore and Chrissy Teigen. We just did this lovely olive oil with Laura Dern called Dern Over a New Leaf, and all of the proceeds for all of those products, all of them go to the environment. Including a collaboration we did with Porsche. Seems unlikely, it's about the colors of the garden. And Sesame Street came over to tell little kids how to recycle and compost. Our next collaboration, by the way, is with Pamela Anderson. It comes out in June. I'm very excited. It's a very funny one, you'll see. I also wrote 2 books. This is my new book, in collaboration with Martha Stewart and Jane Fonda. We published 8 books in total. My new book was launched in December by Al Gore, the previous vice president, as part of his climate initiative. You can see I own 1 suit because I'm always in the garden. That was a happy accident. While I was writing my books and doing that stuff, Harvey, very hard at work, he designed magazines about the garden, which are beautiful. He threw himself into packaging. Even though this stuff comes from farms, we want to make it really feel like it's luxury. So everything's very detailed, everything is as beautiful as possible. And we continued to photograph Mother Nature like she was jewelry. We created this funny concept called the inconvenience store. Not the convenience store, the inconvenience store, because it's a pain in the ass to make this stuff. The farmers are really difficult to work with, and we have to grow it the right way, and we have to harvest it the right way. So this is a collection of products that are really difficult to put together, but we're very proud of them. And we took the revenue from those projects and others, and we donated a lot of it to the Jane Goodall Institute. We planted 250,000 trees with the National Forest Foundation. And my personal favorite, we've been trying really hard to ban Roundup, glyphosate, which, as you know, is one of the most deadly herbicides in the world, and the most widely used. I think this is probably, in all honesty, one of the most improbable things about what we've done in the last 5 years. We never really knew how many products we would make. We ended up making over 150 things. But once we did it, we really understood the significant change this could make to the way the beauty industry works and also how food systems work. My favorite example is palm oil. You know, palm oil is in absolutely everything. Everything has palm oil in it, but it's the largest cause of deforestation in the world. It calculates sort of 20% of global warming is attributed to that deforestation. So we wanted to find something for our shampoo and our body wash and our beauty products that didn't have palm oil. And it's really hard because it's cheap and it bubbles well and people like it. But we found something here in the Amazon jungle, something called babasu oil. And it's harvested by local communities, and it grows in this really interesting, like right between the grassland and the forest, babasu grows. And so if we can give value to those trees, get more money for those trees, they sort of act as a, almost like an electric fence around the forest, so you don't push it further in. We did the same research, the same sort of thing with yakasugi oil in Japan, with Douglas fir that we harvest in Canada, with sea buckthorn oil from Nepal, Manuka honey from New Zealand. And again, all the money from all those harvests go towards the environment and go back to the people who are on the land. I want you to meet my friend Gonzalo. He's in Mexico. He's one of the people we work with. This is his farm and his house. It's kind of crazy. He bought 900 acres in the middle of the thickest, craziest jungle you've ever been to. And in the middle, he's got like a 20-acre block where he's growing the rarest, extinct, endangered vegetables and stuff you might have never seen, striped tomatoes and polka dot bananas and stuff that's indigenous to Mexico, but has long disappeared because the type of skin it had might have been too soft to ship around the world or something like that. Gonzalo's idea, this area is much like Thailand. It's lots of tourist hotels, lots and lots of resorts. He wanted chefs at the hotels and resorts to use this produce instead of shipping in produce. Also, why would you have a tomato in Mexico at your $2,000 a night villa and the same tomato you could have here in Thailand or the same one you can have in Los Angeles? So really like being really proud of local tastes. Anyway, he went to all the hotels. We went with him. We wanted to sell soap. And the answer was a flat no. No, no, no. They didn't want to spend the money. Until this man showed up, René Redzepi. Many of you know Noma. It's, for many years, has been repeatedly named the best restaurant in the world. It's in Copenhagen. Noma did a pop-up in Tulum in Mexico. And one of the things Noma's powerfully famous for is like real care, local produce. They really care about growers. They strictly get local ingredients, which it really helps them celebrate the community and the culture. Because of that, almost 1 million people a year would go to Copenhagen to get just 20 seats at Noma. Entire economies were built around Noma, and not just farms, but airlines and hotels, and everyone benefiting from all these people coming in. And the most famous restaurant in the world happened to be in their city. So you now have a 3-star Michelin restaurant here, Sorn. Congratulations, it's a wonderful achievement. I want to remind you, though, when that happened at Noma, the government really went to work. They created something called the 10-Point Nordic Food Program, where the Nordic government sat down. They said, we are going to promote Nordic growers and farmers. We're going to give them more money. We're going to work with them directly. We're really, really going to invest in farmers. And today, 1/4 of the tourists that come to Denmark come only for food. Contrast that with somewhere like Hawaii. Hawaii is a dust bowl now. It is farmers are not supported. They import 90% of the food that they eat. Despite having some of the best soil in the world, farms are disappearing. And we've just started working with this farmer, and it's a very small project, but my dream in Hawaii is to sort of replicate what we did on the mainland in Hawaii, and again, create this like ecosystem of farmers and suppliers and make new things from the produce that they're growing. Thailand, it's the complete opposite of Hawaii, but there's a cautionary tale. You obviously export significantly more than you import, which is great. But most farmers in Thailand are not earning a livable wage, and 40% of farming households here live below the national poverty line. 40%. Complicating this factor is that a handful of major agriculture companies control most of the agricultural trade, leaving small farms, regenerative farms, organic farms, with very limited market access. Now, this is a super complicated thing, and we're not going to solve it today. But I just want to remind you, you have jewels at your fingertips. These are rubies and these are gems. These are the most incredible things in the world that are growing here. And some of these flavors that you cannot get anywhere else, that we know all around the world that we love. And this is a blessing. My question for you is, how can we add more value to these things? How can you do what, let's say they did in Japan with Kobe beef, or in Spain with ham, or with kimchi in Korea, or in Italy with tomato and pommes and cheese? How can we add local value and pride to these things that you're producing and give them more value? And what else can we make with them? Your national fruit is the mangosteen, the queen of fruits, I think you call it, which is amazing. It's so full of antioxidants and vitamin C. It's and antibacterial properties. It's the perfect base ingredient for cosmetics. So my dream for you would be to do a national version of Flamingo Estate, or something adjacent, where you build consumer brands, you build a group of consumer brands, and you really wrap your arms around Thai farmers and help them and support them and harvest directly from them and make everyone a lot of money, which would be the goal. So one last thought. This is Alice Waters. She's largely regarded as maybe the founder of the farm-to-table movement. She's a chef. She's in my new book. And she famously says, what you put into your mouth is what you put into the world. Meaning, if you eat terrible food, you kind of like become a terrible person. And if you process food, you become unhealthy. But it's also sort of you digest the qualities of your food. So what's Thailand putting into the world? Your flavors here are sweet, and you're spicy, and you're hot, and you're complex, and you're surprising, and you're bold, and you're radically different to the rest of the world. My hope, my wish for you all, is that you show up in these ways. This is sweet power, and this is spicy power. This is complex power, and bold power, and radically different, delicious power. And this is your soft power. Thank you very much.
Richard Christensen. Fantastic. Please join me. You've got a few minutes, I'm assured. I've got enough questions for about 25 minutes. But
Let's do it.
Let's get straight into it. You ran from the farm, the family farm. You ran to New York.
As fast as I could.
Yeah, lucky you came back to the
Yeah.
farm. Tell us about that.
Coming back to the
Was it important, do you think, that you left? Would you have learnt what you needed to know 20 years later?
Oh, what a good question. I think so. I think I learned the most when my business crumbled, maybe not going to work in advertising and fashion. I think I'm sure many people felt this way. I was exhausted from working so hard. I was tired. I was unhealthy. I was totally out of alignment. I really understood that good food and good ingredients are a luxury and brought me back to life. Yeah.
Having 2 baths a day. I think a luxury that nobody else in the room can probably afford. But being more serious, you've talked about regenerative farming. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit more what that means?
It's full circle, and it's something that we all probably know because it's as old as time. It's treating water well, it's treating soil well, it's regenerating soil. It's also about treating people well and getting the planet healthy again. Obviously no pesticides, no chemicals.
And it's a step above organic, you said.
Yeah, step above organic for sure.
And the question I have, or the problem I fear, is that sustainability feels like a luxury. It's something that wealthy people can afford.
Yeah.
But those less well off perhaps can't.
Well, I think that everyone deserves good food. Everyone deserves not to eat food with pesticides or chemicals. Everyone deserves stuff that, they say that good food is grown in good soil, and everyone deserves that. I think we're in a climate where you unfortunately might need to pay more to get that than before. It's funny because in places like Mexico, when I talked about Gonzalo, many people that lived there used to grow vegetables in their backyards. They were very healthy. Then they left to work in big cities to chase a better life, and now they're eating crap and more unhealthy than before. So it's funny that we've lost touch with that part of ourselves.
You're a creative. You've created, almost unknowingly, a luxury brand. Perhaps you didn't set out to create a luxury brand. Thailand is full of farmers. You've said they're the greatest creatives on the planet. So the future is bright.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much potential here. I mean, as I said, jewels. There's jewels here. There's so many tastes, and the world looks at Thailand for flavor. And we had a conversation last night with someone. We were talking about confidence is needed to be we have the best stuff in the world, and now we need to charge more for it. Yeah.
That's a good message. We have the best stuff in the world. We have the best on this stage. Big round of applause, please. Richard Christensen.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Thanks very much. Don't forget the clicker. A true force of nature, Richard Christensen, and a man who knows a thing or two about luxury, two being the operative word when it comes to hot baths. I'm very jealous about that, as you can tell. Right, what a first half we've had. I hope you've enjoyed it, ladies and gentlemen. What a collection we've had of creative minds. Passionate, visionary, never taking no for an answer, always pushing forwards, setting new standards. And while they thrive in creating the new rules of soft power, they also take great pleasure in breaking the old ones. We're going to take a break now for about 15 minutes. So I'd like to ask you, please, to be back in your seats, ready for the second half of the show, which is starting at 3:40. Yes. So one of the people you're going to be hearing from later is responsible for the delicious snacks you're going to be eating during the break. So I hope you enjoy those. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation in this first half of the new rules of soft power. Thank you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the new rules of soft power. In the first half, we heard how cities, particularly developing ones, must combine control and flexibility to create and maintain a global identity. We've learned it's what you leave out of tradition and culture which makes it attractive and engaging for contemporary audiences. And then we discovered how a spectacular pivot in COVID has led to the transformation in the lives of grassroots farmers, changing lives and making Mother Nature the last great luxury house. All rules which could be effectively and rewardingly applied to the opportunities here in Thailand. So now to the second half of the new rules of soft power. The next person sharing their new rules of soft power is one of the world's most celebrated chefs, In 1990, he was the first to win 3 Michelin stars for a hotel restaurant. And then in 2005, he was the first to hold 3 Michelin stars in 3 different cities. And he was the first of his stature to successfully integrate sustainability into luxury dining. Chef Alain Ducasse is also a master of influence and invention. He's expanded into fine chocolates, ice cream, and biscuits whilst running 33 restaurants. And today, Ducasse Paris Group employs over 2,000 passionate, creative people in 9 countries. A dedicated believer in mentorship and passing on the legacy he's created, Monsieur Ducasse operates culinary schools in France, the Philippines, India, Abu Dhabi, Egypt, and here in Bangkok. So there's tremendous scope for the lucky applicant to the THACCA Melco Academy who gets assigned to his mentorship. I imagine you tasted some of Ecole Ducasse's delicious patisserie with your coffee, and if that made you yearn for more, you can enjoy dinner in blue, his riverside restaurant in Icon Siam. Unfortunately, Monsieur Ducasse couldn't join us in person as he's in Miami today, so we caught up with him in Paris last week, and he shared with us his thoughts on soft power.
Bonjour chef, merci d'être avec nous aujourd'hui.
Bonjour.
On est ravis de vous voir depuis Bangkok. Je sais que vous êtes aux États-Unis aujourd'hui, mais on est ravis d'avoir ce temps avec vous pour notre audience. Et alors j'ai lu le dernier livre qui raconte votre parcours et je vois que vous avez commencé en étudiant à travailler dans un routier au milieu de la France. Maintenant vous avez des restaurants entre New York, Paris, Londres, un peu partout dans le monde. Vous avez des manufactures de chocolat, de café, de biscuits, de glace, des écoles sur tous les continents finalement. Vous avez dit dans ce livre d'ailleurs, si on s'arrête, on régresse. Vous arrêtez où?
En réalité, on commence sérieusement à déployer notre expertise, nos savoir-faire au travers des écoles, au travers des restaurants, au travers de l'art de vivre à la française. C'est ce qui me passionne le plus. Et bien sûr, toujours avec de sérieux et d'excellents partenaires. Par exemple, nous sommes à Macao.
Absolument.
Avec notre meilleur partenaire. Voilà, on continue. Le rôle d'influence, il est important parce que finalement, c'est un peu de culture française que nous transmettons.
On vit dans un monde aujourd'hui tellement multinational où d'ailleurs, vous prenez l'avion pour aller dans des vingtaines de pays toutes les semaines quasiment. Et quand on regarde les grandes chaînes qui sont déployées, on a l'impression que l'or, c'est la masse. C'est de trouver le goût universel, ce qui va plaire à tout le monde. Quand on vous entend parler, on entend complètement l'inverse. Quand on travaille avec vous d'ailleurs, on voit que chaque restaurant ne ressemble pas à l'autre, que chaque manufacture de chocolat ne ressemble pas à l'autre.
C'est une obsession d'être différent, de cultiver cette différence. Dans un monde googlisé, globalisé, mondialisé, je crois plus que jamais la nécessité d'aujourd'hui de causer et de raconter une histoire, et pas une histoire globale, de raconter une histoire cohérente pour un public de là où on se trouve.
N'importe quel financier regarderait ça et dirait, tiens, la manufacture de chocolat, on va faire 40 boutiques, toutes les mêmes partout dans le monde.
Ça, c'est le plus facile, mais c'est ce que je m'attache à ne pas faire. J'ai la chance d'être toujours l'actionnaire majoritaire de ma compagnie, donc je fais encore ce que je veux, mais c'est le bien le plus précieux, c'est ma liberté d'action. Et finalement, je m'aperçois que cela me plaît, et je m'aperçois qu'économiquement, cela est aussi séduisant d'avoir la capacité de vendre cher. Ce n'est pas un sujet d'avoir certainement les chocolats les plus chers, mais ce sont les chocolats les meilleurs, les plus rares, qui racontent une histoire. Et l'histoire, on peut venir voir de la fève de cacao jusqu'au bonbon de chocolat. Je maîtrise l'intégralité de la chaîne qui me permet d'avoir le meilleur bonbon. Point. C'est mon obsession.
Si je vous propose un petit whisky ou un petit café ou un petit verre d'eau, vous me répondrez quoi?
J'aime pas petit. Le mot petit, alors, l'origine, pourquoi je déteste petit? Petit en quoi? En qualité, en quantité, en ambition. Je préfère un verre d'une eau délicieuses en belle quantité, non pas petits. Je déteste le mot petit, parce que tout de suite, immédiatement, ça me dit petites ambitions, petites qualités, petit, non, je n'aime pas ça. On ne fait pas les choses en petit.
Vous parlez beaucoup de tradition. Vous êtes finalement aussi devenu un peu la tradition ou le représentant de la tradition de la cuisine française, mais vous parlez aussi de bousculer la tradition.
Oui, parce que l'habitude, je dis souvent, quand on s'ancre dans l'habitude sans la nécessité de regarder son contemporain, parce que pourquoi je suis contemporain? Parce que je nourris mon consommateur, le consommateur contemporain. Le consommateur contemporain, il est curieux, zappeur, infidèle, surinformé, surstressé, surpressé. Et encore, il faut l'étonner. Quand il arrive chez nous, il faut encore l'étonner. Donc d'abord, il faut l'enraciner, il faut l'étonner par la sincérité, la générosité, la différence. Je crois que la cuisine de demain, c'est ne pas être sous l'influence du monde, mais au contraire, savoir ce qui se passe dans le monde pour mieux préciser un univers personnel. Moi, je pense que demain, dans ce monde globalisé, mondialisé, je pense qu'il faut rencontrer une expression très personnelle pour trouver son public. Alors bien sûr, il faut que cette expression le trouve son lecteur, son consommateur. Et je pense que demain, c'est ça. Demain, c'est l'unicité d'une proposition. Regarder le monde dans sa globalité, s'exprimer dans sa localité. Ici, en Thaïlande, l'évolution, c'est une révolution. Mais c'est une réévolution. L'évolution dans la manière de se nourrir, l'attention portée en Thaïlande pour se nourrir est exceptionnelle. Nous, cuisiniers français, nous devons regarder ça avec un grand respect pour essayer de s'imprégner et de comprendre. Donc on mettra du temps pour faire la juste proposition. Mais en tout cas, nous travaillerons pour d'abord intégrer la culture locale afin de honorer et de rendre hommage à votre histoire.
On parlait à Bangkok aujourd'hui et au public thaïlandais qui se pose la question comment étendre l'influence finalement de la Thaïlande, notamment à travers la gastronomie. Et ce que j'entends de ce que vous dites que je trouve intéressant, c'est pas de prendre la gastronomie thaïlandaise et juste l'exporter, mais c'est de comprendre ce que dans chacun des pays, les gens vont aimer de la gastronomie thaïlandaise.
Oui, il faut l'accompagner, c'est-à-dire on n'impose rien à quiconque, il faut accompagner l'histoire que l'on veut partager. Donc demain, la cuisine thaïlandaise a beaucoup d'atouts parce qu'elle est séduisante. Donc il faut, très certainement, il faut passer par le spectre d'une forme de haute gastronomie. La cuisine thaïlandaise, on pense tout de suite une cuisine de rue, populaire, que populaire. Mais la cuisine thaïlandaise, il faut qu'elle soit perçue comme pas que populaire. Il faut qu'elle passe par le spectre, certainement, d'une gastronomie, voire d'une haute gastronomie. Il faudra certainement identifier à l'exportation quelques restaurants thaïlandais de haute gastronomie pour avoir un rôle d'influence important. Ce passage-là, je pense qu'il est nécessaire. Parce que l'image d'aujourd'hui, c'est comme il y a 25 ans, l'image de la cuisine italienne, ça se résumait à des pâtes à la tomate et des pizzas. La cuisine italienne, c'est bien autre chose. Et aujourd'hui, la cuisine thaïlandaise, on peut imaginer que c'est une cuisine de rue. Ce n'est pas qu'une cuisine de rue, donc il faudra le démontrer, il faudra l'exprimer. Donc c'est certainement la nécessité de passer par la haute gastronomie pour aider à la diffusion. Certainement.
Ladies and gentlemen, Alain Ducasse, Chef Alain Ducasse. I get the sense he's almost mischievous in his attitude towards tradition and habits, and I definitely align with his disdain for small measures. Now imagine how it will look on the resume of one lucky Thai student, a placement with Alain Ducasse. Our next guest is responsible for one of the most iconic moments of 2024. 5 billion people tuned in to the Olympics in Paris and marveled at his beautiful creation. His mind doesn't see boundaries like the rest of us, and there are no limits to the things his creativity can improve, as you'll start to understand.
To describe Mathieu Lehanor as a designer conceals more than it reveals. From bases in Paris and New York, Mathieu and a team of 20 work on commissions from a highly diverse range of clients, from a local church to a global luxury brand, from new inventions to simple nature. His practice is where science, psychology, medicine and physiology redraw the boundaries of design. Spaces, be they homes, institutions, gathering places or temporary exhibits, are as sensory as they are visual. The objects he designs blend technology and craft together in a unique aesthetic. And whilst Mathieu defines himself as designer not artist, based on his needs for a question to start his creative process, you can find his art is in many large museums and gallery collections. 2024 elevated Mathieu to a new level globally with his elegant, logical and technically advanced relay cauldron, Olympic torch and the Olympic cauldron which rose into the skies above Paris throughout the Games. Light, magical and unifying.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Paris, Mathieu Lehonneur.
This is our way that we used to say hello in France centuries ago. Thing? No, not yet. Yes, I'm a designer. I'm running my offices and showroom in Paris and New York. But yes, I'm a designer, but no, I do not spending my time with papers and pen, designing curves and trying to focus only on the aesthetic. Of course, aesthetic is part of the job, but a very tiny part, actually. My main part is to work that way, just behind, that you can see behind me. I mean, without drawing, just by trying to close my eyes and trying to be in contact with the people who are living around me in this planet, and trying to understand the mind, trying to understand the perception of the human being, and trying to understand the instinct of human being. And I would like to share some thoughts during this talk, just to make you feel how instinct and perception might be very, very powerful tools for a designer. So, okay, with instinct, but let's take an example. Can instinct clean the door and save money? Weird question. Okay. But here we are in a public toilets for male, so in front of urinals. And probably the male part of the audience see what I mean. And it's a huge issue to basically to keep those places clean and transmit a quality wherever you are. It might be in a stadium, it might be in an airport, but in a public space. But 40 years ago, some guys in Netherlands thought that maybe we can play on the instinct to make those places clean and to reduce the cost about the people who have to clean. So for that, they had invent this. And this is a very basic stuff. It's basically a fly printed into the urinal. And I don't know if some of you have already made this, probably. And probably you can confirm that in front of this, frankly, it's almost impossible not to target the fly. This is instinct. This is a compulsion of the male who basically consider his penis as a gun, but it might be another talk for next time. But the beauty of it, it's super simple, super smart. I don't know if it's a beautiful object, but at the end there is a problem and there is a solution that took your mind to solve it. Okay. Can instinct save a life? Yes. Instinct can save a life. We are in Chicago, right here, on a beautiful road, 8 lines, straight, beautiful. You got the building on the left, you got the Michigan Lake on the right, and the city have to face a tremendous problem because basically people, the drivers, were going too fast because there was enjoying the speed. We're talking about Formula One. It's just the same aspects. But the main problem, it's at the end of the road, as you can see on the image, there is a bend, a 90 degrees bend. So many people, too many people, actually fall down into the water. So, of course, the city tried to find many different solutions. They put some signs, they transmitting messages thanks to the radio. They put policemen there. Nothing worked. So one guy in the mayor's team think about something. What don't we play with instinct? And actually, they have created an optical illusion, a pure optical illusion. Basically, they paint white stripes parallel, but perpendicular to the traffic. So you have to imagine yourself in your car driving, and basically you're going to see those white stripes. But as you can see on the view from above, the white stripe is more and more shrink when you go next to the bend. So optically, you feel the speed, even if your car do not speed up. So by this way, they have been able to reduce, and as I heard, there is no more people who fall down into the street. Can instinct be a medicine? When I was a student at design school in Paris, I wanted to facing one of the major issues in the medical treatments. We know today, and the scientific world knows today, that 50%, one of two pills is not taken correctly. It means one of two pills, one of two treatments basically is useless. And not useless because of the active principle that is not good enough, not because the molecule is not efficient, only because of the behaviors of the patient. You probably know, just like me, you probably stop your antibiotics treatment. Probably because you were feeling better, maybe because you forgot, maybe because you were thinking that I do not need anymore. So basically, you stop. So I tried to imagine several different design solutions, keeping the molecules, keeping the active principle, but trying to transform and create new relationship, basically between the patient, almost alone, and the treatment. I would like to share you one, this is the collection that I have designed. And I would like to share you one piece that I've created. It's a device for asthma treatment, and specifically dedicated for the kids. When you suffer with asthma treatment, basically you have to take a device, a molecule for the crisis, and you have to take another one that is dedicated for long-lasting use and super crucial, super critical, because it's going to reduce the crisis. But for the kids, it's more and more difficult for them to take it. So I wanted to create a relationship, one more time, a relationship. And I wanted to create a kind of dependency, but not a dependency that would make the kid dependent on the molecule, dependent on the treatment, but to inverse the relationship and to make the kid feel that the treatment, the medicine, the device needs me. So the idea is, you get the device, it's purely geometrical, almost perfect, quite minimalistic in a way, and on your bedside. And during the night, the device will blow up by itself. So when the kid is waking up into the morning, you can see the device. The day before it was perfectly geometrical, and it turned to be distorted, almost painful. So to save the treatment, to save the object, just like a Tamagotchi device, to save the treatment, you're going to pick it up, you're going to stick the air, you're going to absorb the air by the mouth, and the air, of course, contain the molecule. So you can see as the animation during the night, it's blowing by itself, and he put it into the mouth, and so he forget he needs something, he just take care of something. And basically, it's when we talk about instinct, it's probably one of the first move, the first instinct for a human being to take care of someone else. Can instinct help to feel alive? I have been commissioned a few years ago by the head of a big hospital in Paris, and specifically he asked me to invent something, to design something for the palliative care department. Palliative care department is a place into the hospital where actually the patient will live the last days, weeks, sometimes months of their life. And he wanted me to create something that will help the patients themselves, that will help also the staff, that will help the nurses, and that will help the relatives to create a new ecosystem of relationship between all those entities. And I came out with an idea, a simple idea, basically. I wanted to bring the idea of escape, first of all. I wanted to make the patient feel that, okay, I am in the hospital, this is the end of my life, but I can keep escaping. So I wanted to play on the idea of sky. And I wanted also to make the patient feeling surrounded by the people he or she loves. So I wanted to create this type of connection between him or her and his relatives thanks to the piece. The piece is titled Tomorrow is Another Day, and the concept of it is it installed in every single room in the palliative care department, and it will continuously display the sky of tomorrow. So even if you won't be able to see the sky by yourself on tomorrow, because maybe you will be passed away, you always know what tomorrow will look like. The idea for me was to give a kind of power, a kind of capability for the patient to always see tomorrow. And when you talk about instinct, tomorrow it's, if you think about it, we are continuously talking about tomorrow. We talk about next weekend, we talk about next holidays, we talk about when we're going to be retired. Since we are born, we always speak about the day after, unless when you are in this type of department. So I wanted to bring back this idea. Can instinct take place in a church? It was another very interesting commission for me and very rare because it came out from a priest in a small city in France. And this priest got a church, a very old 11th century church. And he asked me to redesign, to invent, to create the core of the church. It was an existing one. And the first time I visited the church, it was this one, made out of wood, very basic, and with fences all around it. And fences because he wanted to avoid people, tourists, visitors, believers, to go crossing by. So he asked me to create something that creates, you remember the white stripes on the road, to create this type of effect that's making people naturally respecting the place and naturally living a kind of spiritual experience with the core. And for that, I created a huge natural landscape totally made out of marble that would feeling emerging from the historical floor of the church and make, when you be around, a kind of a thing that not put a distance between you and it, but create a kind of respect approach you need to get. And the priest wanted also to actually being able to talk to the believers, but not feel on an upper level than them. So by this way, on playing on a natural landscape, he let them the opportunity to be just like I am in front of you, but a bit higher, but in a natural way. So, that's the topic of the day. Can instinct be a soft power? I've been commissioned last year to design, and it's quite honorific, to design the three main objects, the three main assets of the Paris 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games. And for me, it was a way to tell a story, but also it was a way to talk to the rest of the world about France. I took inspiration for the torch, let's start with the torch, with three main pillars. The first one was to talk about equality. Equality is part of the national motto in France. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Equality was important for me because for the very first time in those Olympic Games, it was a perfect parity between male and female athletes. So I play on this idea of equality and turn it for the object into a fully symmetrical torch. I wanted to express also the idea of the water. Water because we knew at this stage that the opening ceremony will take place around the banks of the Seine River in Paris. So water was a kind of thread, a kind of common link during these Olympic Games. And the third pillar, the third inspiration was to talk about peacefulness. I wanted this torch not to be a kind of conquest object, not make it talking about performance or powerful, but make something that I transmit, a kind of generosity, a kind of gift. And probably on top of that, and since the very beginning, when I was probably on the floor in my office, like the slide you saw, I was thinking that I want the object, it was not designed yet, but I want this object being eye-catching, appealing enough to make people want to watching it, but at the same time, simple enough to make any kid, it might be in Paris, in Bangkok, in Shanghai, wherever, being able, in front of the TV, I saw the torch and I'm able to design it by myself. I wanted by this way to make any kind of human being on this planet being able to take this torch for him or her. And basically, when I discovered the cover of the New Yorker magazine that turned the French baguette, we talked about the baguette before, the cliché of the baguette, into the torch, it was for me a good way that maybe the object, it started to become an iconic element. For the Olympic audience was another story. I mean, another inspiration. For that, I wanted to create a collective and super personal experience at the same time. And for me, the best metaphor or the best inspiration came from the sun itself. I mean, we know the sun, we know the sunset. It's always the same. But we want to we want to be as close as we can from the sun, and we might be alone, we might be with friends, we might be with relatives. It's collective and personal at the same time, and it brings a kind of permanence and consistent emotion. And beside that, I wanted to pay tribute to the history of France. And I discovered when I was working on the project that the very first time that human beings have been able to fly, it was in France. We can be proud of it. It was in France, thanks to the hot air balloon invented by the Montgolfier brothers. It was in 1783. And 2 years after, the hydrogen balloon have been invented by a famous physician. So it was for me, yes, I told to myself, it might be the right point to tell the story and to invent what should be the Olympic sun. What is the Olympic sun of Paris 2024 that would take off and landed every single day and night. So it was a long process. We have to make many tests, and day after day, the strong emotion that a lot of people in this planet have felt, basically that we estimate that it's about 5 up to 6 billion people who have seen those elements. I wanted them to, yes, to be moved. I wanted to make them cry, actually, yeah? Or at least goosebumps. But it was actually my target. But what was amazing, it was the day after, this emotion turned into pride. And in France, it's quite rare to be proud of something. So, but I heard this around me, and it was, for me, the good sign that it was an object that combined history, culture, beauty, innovation, invention in the same object. So day after day, this object turned to become a kind of symbol, a kind of icon, a kind of temporary monument. And I can't resist to share with you a video of one takeoff during this amazing summer period that we lived.
Attention pour décollage.
I came with a friend, my best friend actually, that I would like to introduce you. As I know, it's the very first time that Olympic torch of Paris 2024 land into Bangkok. So we have to take care of it. Now, just just a few words to finish. Recently, the French president just announced that the Olympic cauldron will stay for 3 more years at least in Paris. So if you didn't get the chance to come and enjoy it, feel free to come and visit Paris. It's been a good way. And for me, very interesting since, of course, it will become a kind of souvenir, a kind of memory of those amazing Olympic Games. But probably more than that, it's turned to become a kind of monument, a kind of new monument, maybe a kind of new soft monument, maybe a kind of new soft power for France. Thank you.
Mathieu, Laura, a big round of applause, please. And thank you very much. Let's pass that back to somebody for safekeeping. And if you'd join me here for a bit of a chat, I want to dig into a couple of things. You've talked about the objective of your work. It's about instinct. It's about human connection. And we saw in that video human connection with the audience at the opening of the Paris Olympics. I want to talk about your personal reaction with your family.
During the opening ceremony it was crazy. It was insane. Do you remember the rains that fall down? And actually, I was very next to the Olympic cauldron, and by chance, I was with my family. I was with my wife, my daughter, and son. And my daughter was really next to me, knew what will happen. It was highly confidential what will happen. Nobody knew that, but my daughter knew, because of course. And when the balloons start to take off, she cried. But not just one tears like that, no. Something deep, very deep. And for me, it was the first sign that, okay, we have been able to reach something that I wanted to reach. I mean, something deeper and super personal for every single human on this planet.
And particularly for you, all we want as parents is for our children to be proud of us. You achieved that.
Yeah, frankly, I worked since 2.5 decades. This is the very first time, I guess, they are proud of their father. I worked a lot since a long time. I show them anything. Oh, okay. And this, okay, Dad, okay, give me 5.
My dad's cool.
Yeah, my dad's cool.
So the Paris 2024 work you did, the torch we've seen, thank you for bringing it, the cauldron, your most famous work probably. But is it actually your favorite work?
Probably it's my favorite one because I wanted, it is what I try to express today since a long time, to try to show that an object is not only a question of design, it's not only a question of shape, it's not only a question of getting the right curves, it's a question of how an object is able to interact with a human being in a certain way. And I try to do this since many years. And with those ones, have been the proof that it might be possible. There is no function for a torch. A torch you do not need a torch. It's just something, a symbol, a ritual, something with human being. It's the same for the cauldron. But showing that creating an object that make people feel super moved, that make people crying, that make people talking together in a different way, yes, it means that an object might be more than an object.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end. An object is more than an object. It is, in fact, an icon, and one of them is sitting with us today. Big round of applause, please. Mathieu Lehonneur.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Terrific. Trying to take the clicker with you. Last, but absolutely by no means least, coming up now, is the country's figurehead of soft power. Her vision for Thailand is a future offering greater prospects for more people across the nation. The 13 creative industry pillars within THACCA each offer high employment opportunities across all sectors of the community. Her government's soft power policies are designed to train, upskill, and invest in the Thai workforce. And with the support and collaboration of the incredible creative talent contained within this country, the Thailand brand will shine brighter and further than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me now in welcoming to the stage the Prime Minister of Thailand, Kun Paetongtarn Shinawatra.
สวัสดีค่ะ And thank you for the very kind introduction. Honorable guest, esteemed speaker, distinguished guests. It is my great honor to address you all today at the very first ever Global Soft Power Talk, a forum that marks the beginning of Thailand's journey toward redefining its global influence through creativity, culture, and innovation. Thailand is a nation deeply rooted in tradition, history, and culture. Our arts, cuisine, hospitality, and way of life have made us recognizable worldwide. But today, we stand at a crucial turning point. While tradition shapes our identity, it must not confine our future. Instead, it must be a foundation for new possibilities, a bridge between our rich past and our limitless future. In the past, Thailand's economic success was built on manufacturing, agriculture, and mass production. These industries have driven growth for decades, but they are no longer sufficient in today's world. The future belongs to nations that invest in creativity, culture, and human potential. Soft power is no longer just about culture and political influence. It is the driver of economic transformation. Nations that have successfully harnessed soft power have not only enhanced their global presence, but also have created jobs, attract investment, and expand their economic influence. That is exactly what Thailand aims to do. To drive this transformation, that Thai government is established the new soft power strategy committee and have identified 13 key industries driving this initiative. Tourism, food, film, fashion, festival, sports, music, art, design, gaming, literature, wellness, and performing arts. To enhance public and private cooperation to better align policies with enterprise needs. However, these industries cannot thrive on their own. They require a strong ecosystem built on skilled individuals who can compete on the global stage. Soft power is not just about economic potential. It is about people. It is about empowering individuals with the tools, skills, and knowledge to turn creativity into economic opportunity. That is why the government has launched the One Family, One Soft Power or OFOS campaign, a national initiative aimed at upskilling and reskilling over 20 million Thai people by 2027, offering nearly 100 free courses in hospitality, creative industries, digital media, design, wellness, and more, and they are completely free. By investing in our people, we are ensuring that the foundation will be strong and the process will be sustainable. Thailand has already established itself as the kitchen of the world. Our cuisine is celebrated worldwide, not just for its taste, but for its health benefits, balance, and cultural richness as well. But we must go beyond food exports. We must elevate Thai cuisine into global brand of gastronomy, sustainability, and wellness. Thai food is not just delicious. It is good for your health. Our cuisine is not just a meal. It is a cultural experience. With advanced agriculture technology, AI-driven supply chain, and blockchain transparency, we are ensuring that Thai food is globally recognized for its quality and innovation. The same applies to our wellness and medical tourism industry. Thailand is already a global leader in affordable, high-quality healthcare and holistic wellness services, but this is just the beginning. From traditional Thai massage to modern medical innovations, we are positioning Thailand as a global wellness hub, offering not just treatment, but an experience of better well-being. The world is our marketplace, and Thailand is ready to showcase our strength and flourish. Our film and performing arts sector is growing rapidly, attracting international productions and global audiences. Our gaming industry is evolving, creating new opportunities for Thai developers and designers. Our music and entertainment industry is set to capture the world's attention. But to achieve success, we need to do more than just create. We need to market, promote, and globalize our creative industries. This is why THACCA plays a crucial role in it is the engine that will drive Thailand's soft power to the new heights. It will serve as a bridge between the government and private sector and global investors, ensuring that Thailand's creative industry have the resources, visibility, and support to thrive. Soft power is not built in isolation. It requires collaboration between governments, businesses, creators, and investors. To our international partners, Thailand is open for business. We invite you to join us in shaping the future of soft power. Invest in Thailand's creative industries. Be part of a movement that transforms creativity into sustainable growth. Thailand is offer more than short-term returns. We offer a sustainable, monetary, rewarding future. As we close this event, I want to leave with this message. Thailand's soft power is not just about what we have, it is about what we can become. We are a nation of tradition and transformation, heritage and creativity, culture and business, and our time is now. Let us work together, innovate together, and grow together, so that Thailand can take the rightful place as a global leader in soft power and the creativity economy. Lawrence, I would like to thank you for supporting THACCA and creating first of these global soft power talks. Monsieur Ducasse, Viviana, Giuliano, Matthew, Richard, Mike, please accept my thanks for joining us and sharing your wisdom with us. My thanks also go to the THACCA team for helping us launch this event. I am already looking forward to the next one. And ladies and gentlemen, please give these guys a big hand for making today a success. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Big round of applause, please, for the Prime Minister of Thailand, Khun Paetongtarn. Now, that's someone with a clear vision and the determination to make things happen. It feels to me that this is Thailand's time. And today, we learned many good lessons which can be used to achieve the success this country deserves. Creativity comes in many forms. Each of our guests is unique, and yet they share common values. They're inquisitive, they're passionate, and they're focused. Each one has created a territory for themselves, which they own and dominate. Each one is in a constant state of change, relentlessly trying to outdo their last good idea. And each of today's guests are storytellers, people who understand the power of narrative. They make rules and they break rules, and they lead the world in the hard impact of soft power. Thank you.